preserve. We think it's going to be one of the greatest things that happened to the town of Kennebunkport. Really will be a truly special place that people enjoy for generations. And we're hoping that everyone will get involved.
15 miles out there. Well, maybe not quite that much, 12.
What do you guys project to do on this side?
Well, I mean, this goes from here all the way to Cape Porpoise now, as you know, okay? And we're pretty much done with that. I mean, we don't want to festoon the woods with trails, you know, so we have a couple of nice loops between the Bradbury Trail and the Beechwood Trail is kind of a loop, and then the Tyler Brook loop, and then from here along the Batson River Trail you can connect with that. So, and the Learning Trail. So I think we're kind of done with that. We're looking at Dave James gave us some land across from the grist mill on North Street. That's adjacent to the McCabe land, which then connects to the school, and ultimately might connect to the town land, the town parcel. So we're working now on a short trail loop in that area that would eventually connect to these other things.
So right across,
a huge parcel. It's about half the size of the Smith Preserve that we have done a lot of exploring. Last winter, Bud Danis and I and others walked about 25 miles over the course of many days, you know, when it was winter time, so you could walk on all the wetlands and everything was frozen. It's beautiful back there. Mostly untouched, other than the odd hunter that's been out there. There's no other sign of humanity, so it's no tote roads or anything. So we'd love to see maybe one trail loop out there that would, you know, kind of give people a chance to get out and see the beauty of it without, you know, really disturbing it too much.
This is an exciting thing for us. Back in, I think it was 1991, Steve Emmons, who is on the mantle right there, he's on the wall over here, and lived in the house next door, donated this property to the Conservation Trust. And it was on condition that we buy the abutting property that was up for sale. And we wanted to get that, because collectively it gave this 150 acres of this beautiful place that we could preserve for the people of Kennebunkport. And so we undertook to buy the property next door, and got a little ways into it when Trot's Island came up for sale. And we were all volunteer then, and struggled to get the money for anything, and to have two projects going on at once was a really big deal to do that. And so in order to make Trot's Island happen, we had to come up with $60,000 in 2 weeks. And so I didn't have any other plan, so I went to the newspaper, asked them to meet here, and said, we're kind of in a desperate strait here, I'm not a good fundraiser, so that what we can do is, if I could have 12 people send me $5,000 in the next 2 weeks, then we can preserve this wonderful store in the morning. And President Bush had already called and said, could I be one of the $5,000 donors? And by the end of the 2 weeks, we had 14 people that had stepped forward, plus other money, and it made it happen. And it was the citizens of this community and surrounding communities that came together to make something really special happen. Having two properties at once was a big deal. But this year, we purchased 5 properties that we'd have to pay for. And wasn't really meant to be that way. It's just that typically we have one shot when we go out to get something. Either we get it or it's gone forever. And so we have to take chances. And when we got the Bryant land, we already owned the Hutchins land behind it. You can see on some of the maps here. And then several other properties came on the market at the exact same time, or not. And we went for it. And so we purchased all of the lots between Route 9 and Oak Ridge Road, and one on the other side of Oak Ridge Road for a bonus. And so now the goal is not only to pay those off, but to make something very special on the land. And the committee has been working here very hard to come up with something that would be a place that the whole town could be proud of for generations to come. And it will have It will have dog areas, it'll have hiking trails, it'll have places for easy access for either handicapped or people with needs like mine, or just a combination of activities that will suit essentially everybody in town and be connected. You know, it'll be miles of trails. Take you through beautiful wooded areas while at the same time preserving wildlife that's so important, and providing areas that we can do experiments with in terms of the changing climate and species that are planted there, and just a wide area of different types of things that we can get involved with just because of these properties. And so we're at the beginning stage, I mean very beginning stages, and so we appreciate everybody that comes and shows up and shows an interest and is there that could help us make it happen. And we're going to be working steadily for it. In 1991, we thought it was crazy and how could we ever do it, and it was done. And that's the way it's happened with every project we've undertaken. We've never had a year, I don't think, where we didn't have a project. And every one we went into saying, pull it off, and every year we pulled it off, every time we pulled it off, and we will with this one too. And the result will be something that this whole area will enjoy and be proud of. So thank you very much for coming. There's lots of information that you can gather from along the different tables here, and please ask everyone if you have any questions at all, and we'll make it happen. Thank you.
So I'm particularly excited about Meadow Woods Preserve for a number of different reasons. One is that we are, with intention, reintroducing a pond that was once there. Building an area for folks who love dogs but might be afraid to let their dog off a leash for fear of it going away or running away. The design of trails that everybody can use. So we're blessed with volunteers and the trail network here.
In 17.
And it's not everyone though sometimes can go out on a trail for fear of tripping or stumping a toe or what have you. So Meadow Woods Preserve having a network of inclusive trails.
This is a terrible story.
Whether it's a mom in a carriage, an elderly person afraid of falling, or someone with a disability will be able to use and enjoy the trail. I guess the last thing is it ties into now close to 400 acres of land between Mills Road and Oak Ridge Road. And there are so many wildlife out there, whether it's deer winter yards and other things. To be able to keep that the way it is really important.
1973 that we haven't got to yet, and we're still on the list. So it doesn't matter whether it's 45 years or 50 years. You know, sometimes it takes time for things to happen. We were approached about 5 years ago to try to create a space that could accommodate dog areas that could have walking trails, that could have a wide variety of benefits. And we started the search for that because it sounded like such a great idea. And that search took 5 years to try to find a property. But sometimes your riches come all together, because as soon as we had settled on that property, we already owned the one behind it, but then another one on the far side became available too. And then the one behind that became available, and the one beside that became available, and the one across the street became available. And the fact was that all of them together made something that was really incredible. If you let one of them go, you could never again try to create what you wanted to create in the end. And if you were practical and frugal, wait and see what happens, and take the chance. But if you really wanted to make something special happen, you do what the Trust has always done, and that is believe that if you create the vision, then people will be there to support it, and you take the chance. And we took the chance, and we put under contract all of the properties, and now have ownership really of about 317 acres between Route 9 and the Oak Ridge Road. and then another property across the street that is absolutely gorgeous on the Oak Ridge Road. And collectively, these have the opportunity to create what you see here. It's the basis upon which we can build something really, really special. It won't be easy. We didn't have the money to do this, and so we got a line of credit from Camden National Bank at a low interest rate. And thank you to Camden. And we put a lot of the money onto that with the hope of paying it back as quickly as we could. And then we started the work of designing what we thought would be special here. And the goal, again, what the trust likes to do is not just do it, but do it in a manner that everyone can be proud of and think this is really something really, really special. I mean, if you're creating something for generations that follow, you don't want to do it ho-hum, you want to do something that's really terrific. And we hired Richardson and Associates who have done these renderings, and I think what you're seeing is something that could be quite extraordinary. Let's make this place something so special that people would want to be there. And all of the different elements of this, I think, lend themselves to that it's just a place that you would want to go. And we also tried to put into it all of the different things that have been talked about through town in a wide variety of ways, like pollinator pathways are here. Reclamation of a site that had seen a lot of use into something that was really beautiful. And walkways that could be accessed by anyone, with any type of disability. And then wooded pathways that if you wanted to go for a longer walk, you had access to fairly substantial trail system, wildlife habitats that would be left alone. And the better part of this property would be just that. And look, 100 years in town, we like then, and what's going to be needed most when that time comes. And now is the time to put it aside. None of this was cheap. And if you would have asked me a year ago whether we could do this, I would say it would be very difficult to get 5 or 6 contiguous properties to try to set aside and protect in the town, regardless of where you were, because it had taken 5 years to come up with the one piece. So getting all of them to fall into line like that, I thought was sort of a God-given opportunity that you had to take advantage of. And so we own them now, they're out there, the work has begun in the design, and we're going to implement these designs as the money comes in and as grants come available, and over the course of time make something that all of us can be really, really proud of. It's pleasing to all of us, so we thank you for that, and thank you for your interest, and we hope that you will spread your, whatever you learned today with your friends and neighbors, and see if you can get them involved too, because it's, I think it'll be something that at the end of the line, you'll say, I'm really glad that I got involved with that. So thank you for coming, and please look around, learn more, and we've got 80 beers you have to finish before you go. Russ is going to get chili from leftover from the book.
Okay. So you asked me if I'm on the board. I am. Chris Angelos, board member of the Kennebunkport Conservation Trust. And you asked if I was one of the visionaries. No. But I am one of the guys that wants to help with Tom's vision and leadership and participate and just help this community a better place, preserve lands for our generations to come, and make it a better place for our children and grandchildren to grow up and visit, and hopefully extend that to other communities across this country, the state, and the world. So